Hey students of Seneca, today we're getting methodical as we go through some key methodology processes for your GCSE chemistry exam. Really important fundamental unit. It's examined a lot, particularly for those higher mark questions. So it's a really important episode. Let's go through it. Instrumental methods of chemical analysis is where we're going to start, okay? In this modern world we live in, we can now use highly accurate instruments to detect and analyze elements and compounds. Instrumental methods have advantages and disadvantages compared to traditional methods. So, what are some of these advantages? They are more sensitive and accurate, they're quicker at producing results, and you're able to analyze small samples, okay? So it's generally a good rule to learn 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages of things, because that's often how it's examined. It will be, the question in the exam will be like, give 3 advantages of instrumental methods of chemical analysis. So always try and learn 3. So disadvantages, they are often expensive. You have to go through special training to operate the instruments, and the results are often only useful when compared to data from known substances. Okay, so that's 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages of instrumental methods. Okay, but let's review quickly. So instrumental methods are better than traditional methods because we can analyze small samples, they're more accurate, more sensitive, and they are quicker at producing results. Right, are you ready to go through an example? We're going to talk about flame emission spectroscopy. Okay, so this is an instrumental method used to identify the metal ions present in a solution and their concentrations. How does it work? We place a sample of metal solution into a flame and then light is emitted. Okay, the light that is emitted is captured by a spectroscope, and this instrument can distinguish between different wavelengths of light to produce a light spectrum. Let's do a cute little review. The instrument used in flame emission spectroscopy, what was that called? It's a spectroscope. And what's the output? It's a line spectra. Okay, let's move into some analysis now. So we can analyze these line spectra to see which metal ions are present. We can work out the concentration of the metal ions too. Each metal ion will generate a distinct line spectrum. This means we can identify all of the ions present in a solution. I know, you heard me right, all of the ions, okay? Concentration of metal ions, the intensity of the light spectra, that's what gives us the information about the concentration of an ion. Unlike flame tests, flame emission spectroscopy allows us to analyze mixtures by comparing them with the reference spectra. If you need to catch up on flame tests, make sure you check out that episode. It's another important topic for GCSE chemistry. So, flame emission spectroscopy. The output for each metal ion is a line spectrum that is distinct, and that means because all of the line spectrum for each metal ion is distinct and unique, which allows us to identify all of the metal ions, and that the output, we also measure the intensity, and the intensity of the metal ions line spectrum allows us to determine the concentration. Okay, now do we remember some of the reasons why instrumental methods are worse than traditional methods? Can you remember back to the start of the episode? Well, 3 things. They are expensive, the results are often only useful in the context of data from known substances, and special training is required. Okay? So, a sample of a metal solution is placed into a flame, resulting in the emission of light. The emitted light is captured by a spectroscope, and the instrument is capable of distinguishing between wavelengths of light to produce a spectrum. So that was a nice little review of flame emission spectroscopy. Okay. Now, some of the disadvantages of chemical analysis, do you remember? They are expensive, they are quick at producing results, that's an advantage. And another disadvantage, you need special training. Okay, so some advantages of instrumental methods again, they're more sensitive, more accurate, they're quicker at producing results, and you can analyze small samples. Okay, now do you remember what is flame emission spectroscopy used to identify? We use it to identify metal ions. Okay, that brings us to the end of this episode. Make sure you consolidate it by reading or looking at your notes or going online. There's a lot to kind of decipher through it, but hope it was useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next episode.